Good evening. The time is 7:07. We'll call the March 14, 2022 Board of Education meeting to order. Ms. Greer, would you please call the roll?
Copeland,
Here.
Alvin,
Here.
Goodfriend,
Present.
Hoda,
Here.
Klein, Lunkins, Smith.
Here.
Okay. You do have a quorum. The public will be provided an opportunity to comment at each meeting, in today's meeting, under public comment section. Members of the public who wish to provide comment must fill out a public comment card and may bring the card to the stage and hand it to Trustee Albert Smith. Trustee Smith, would you wave your hand? Thank you. At the beginning of the meeting or any time before we get to the public comment section of the agenda. The cards are located in the basket right there at the end. And if you want to make a comment, please fill one out, a card out, and bring that to Mr. Smith. Recitation of the district mission and vision. Mr. Smith, can you read the district mission and vision? No, not yet. Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yes. Our inclusive learning community provides the best academic and social experiences by educating the whole child, one child at a time. Cultivating cultivating visionary leaders and compassionate citizens to be engaged in the global community.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. The agenda was shared prior to today's meeting. Are there any additions to the agenda as presented?
It
If
provides the
not,
best academic and social experiences by.
is there an addition to the agenda? If none, if we will pass a motion to approve the agenda by unanimous consent unless there is an objection. Is there an objection to do so? Hearing none, we will pass the agenda by unanimous consent, and we will go to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Or would you like to pull something off?
Yeah, President Elvin, can we pull off the minutes from the special meeting for March 3rd off the agenda,
Yes.
off the consent agenda?
We will pull those and place them as action item 7A. Of minutes. So 7A. Anything else from the consent agenda? Okay, so then what would be in order then would be a motion to approve the consent agenda with the approval of the personnel actions and the financial statements, minus the approval of minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the consent agenda, which is inclusive of the approval of the personnel actions and the financial statements of October and November 2021.
Does it also include the minutes for February 28th?
Oh, I'm sorry, yep, and the minutes of February 28th. My apologies. So we just pulled off one, which is the special meeting minutes. Sorry about that. So it would include all 3 of those items: approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting from February 28th, the approval of the personnel action, and the financial statements of October and November 2021. We agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. There's a motion on the floor. There's a second motion made by Hoyda and seconded by Smith. Ms. Greer, would you please call the roll?
Copeland,
Yes.
Alvin,
Yes.
Goodfriend,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lunkins, and Hoda.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes, and we have 3 presentations this evening, and the first one is Oak Park Schools Teacher of the Year by Ms. Diglio.
Thank you, President, and good evening, everyone. It's good to see so many faces in the audience this evening. It is with great pleasure to introduce and to honor Ms. Desiree Fuller, who is named the Oak Park Outstanding Teacher of the Year for 2022 school year. Ms. Fuller teaches 9th grade English at Oak Park High School. She is beloved by her students, her colleagues, and the parent community. On Friday, we had the excitement of storming Miss Fuller's classroom. It was during her advisory period, and she and her class were surprised with the announcement of Teacher of the Year, with flowers, balloons, a 3x5 sign, I think is in the audience. I saw it come in, and cookies for all of her students to enjoy, and all of the members that were congratulating her. She was greeted in person by her administrative team, by former students that wrote letters on her behalf, the cabinet, and I understand colleagues came down throughout the day and congratulated her, probably all day today as well as this announcement gets out. Ms. Fuller has been described as passionate, resourceful, creative, and student-centered. She believes in elevating student voice and provides a safe and nurturing culture for all students to be heard. Ms. Fuller has been in the Oak Park School District for 4 years, but an educator for 14. In addition to teaching, she is the content area leader for the English department. She models new initiatives and new implements, and she does so with fidelity. She is a certified restorative practice trainer and facilitates professional development in the area of classroom management, student engagement, and culturally responsive teaching. She is the co-founder of an anti-racist teaching organization and student leadership group on campus. Ms. Fuller is highly respected by her leadership team and colleagues. Known for being a major contributor to the culture at Oak Park High School, we are so pleased to honor Ms. Fuller and present her the Board of Education this evening with a huge congratulations to her and all that she does for the Oak Park School District and Oak Park High School. At this time, I would love to welcome Ms. Vermigulo, along with Ms. Fuller, to the podium, and our students in the audience that would like to come forward on behalf of Ms. Fuller. Ms. Vermigulo and Ms. Fuller, welcome.
Before I share a few things about Ms. Fuller, I'm going to have her introduce her village here with her.
That's great.
All righty. Hey, guys. All right. So, I guess when I say your name, please wave. Y'all got that thing flashing for real. All right. Cassandra, my bestie, raise your hand, and soror. My goddaughter, Olivia. My goddaughter, Alessandra. My friend, Ray. My soror and my purse, Taniqua. My big sister and everything I want to be when I grow up, Brenda. On the second row, we have Bonnie, my soror. We have Annette, another soror. We have Jennifer Orma, because she's part of the family she adopted, in case y'all didn't know. My mommy, my daddy, and all the way back there is James. He's a former student. James, what class are you? Oh, God.
That's great.
And he became my frat brother. I raised him well, didn't I? All right. I don't think I missed anybody. I see my baby Javier, but he goes here. Y'all know Javier.
Javier's coming up to the podium, Ms.
Oh,
Fuller.
is he?
Yes.
Okay.
And before Ms. Vermigulo takes the podium, I want your group to understand, and everybody in the auditorium, that you are now in the running for the Oakland Schools Teacher of the Year. So that's right. They'll be making their announcement later in March. You should be hearing from them to see where things turn out there. But it's such an honor to have you in our district, Ms. Fuller, and such an honor to have your family and friends join us this evening.
Thank
So
you.
I'll turn things over to Ms. Vermigulo.
Good evening. It is my honor and privilege to recognize Ms. Desiree Fuller as the Oak Park Schools Teacher of the Year. Ms. Fuller maintains a welcoming and positive classroom environment. She goes above and beyond to provide an equitable education for all scholars. Ms. Fuller is a strong voice in our school community for equity in curriculum, teaching practices, and school policies. She creates culturally responsive units and lessons that connect to the lives of her students and is intentional as it pertains to educating the whole child. Ms. Fuller incorporates project-based learning and the design thinking process within her curriculum. She meets the needs of every student by holding sessions after school, on school breaks, and on weekends to work with her students one-on-one who may be struggling with reading fluency or comprehension. Ms. Fuller believes in amplifying the voices of her students. Her classroom has a culture of talk in which students feel safe to take risks and engage in critical thinking and instruction. She enables scholars to define high expectations and initiate improvement of their own work. At this time, I would like Javier Briggs to come up and say a few words on Ms. Fuller's behalf.
You guys, I'm gonna remove my mask.
You can take that.
For starters, tonight, my name is Javier Briggs. I am an occurring sophomore at Oak Park High School, for those that may not know me. Miss Desiree Fuller is, for starters, an amazing mother figure to me and my younger brother's life. She made a very impact on my lifestyle and along with other scholars' lifestyles across the district of Oak Park. My first interaction with Miss Fuller was during my freshman year. As you guys know, it was virtual, but I came in person for the first time for my PSAT testing. That's when I first met Miss Fuller, and her energy when me and her first met was honestly amazing, and I wanted to get to know her more. That's when I found out she was my advisor for this past summer program known as Oakland Youth Innovation Lab. That's when she was my advisor, and she helped me upon a passion project with me and two other students by the names of Makai Daniels and Quentin Clark. She helped the three of us begin a brotherhood and also carry our passion project to another level that we never imagined it would soar. Ms. Fuller is, in my definition, a woman of honor. She represents everything that a Black African American woman needs to be in this world. She represents strength, integrity, accountability, honesty, and just many other things. Nothing can describe Ms. Fuller, nothing but a big bunch of positive words. She made a very strong impact on my life, and I am blessed and grateful to have her in my life. Even though I never had her as a teacher, but I'm just glad to get to know her as the woman she is today. With her beautiful family standing here today and standing here this evening, you guys are lucky to have Ms. Fuller. Honestly, you guys are, and truly blessed to have her. When I tell you this woman is honestly amazing, I tell you she is amazing. And to her parents, you guys raised an excellent and amazing, strong, young daughter of yours. She is honestly amazing, and I appreciate you guys for raising her that way. So all thanks to you guys as her parents for raising her this way. And for the entire district and community of Oak Park, please do not take Ms. Fuller for granted. Do not, please, because she is a woman that every scholar needs in their lifestyles, whether it's academically, personally, or any type of way. Whatever you guys do, do not push Ms. Fuller away, because she is a woman that everybody needs in their life. So to conclude my speech, thank you, Ms. Fuller, and you deserve this accomplishment. Thank you, everybody.
Outstanding.
Ms. Fuller, if you would like to say a few words, we would love to hear from you and what you would like to say to your family and what this means to you.
I'm all in my feelings now.
It's okay.
As you should be. So first and foremost, it's an immense blessing to be honored for doing something that you are passionate about and that is truly your calling. And my classroom culture, I feel blessed, but it wasn't created on its own. I am in partnership with every parent, and we do our best to partner together for our babies. Yes, they have to share our babies. And it's because of that partnership that I haven't had to write a kid up, send them out for any reason. And everything goes smoothly. And so I'm very thankful to the parents of my scholars because they trust me with their babies. And I love my kids for real. I am very appreciative to my building leaders, Ms. V and Ms. Peterson, and my instructional coach, Emily De La Cruz, for taking my early morning and evening calls and being thought partners when I come up with my latest innovative idea that I'm so excited about, and having full support to carry it through. The entire, and Mr. Sanders. I love Mr. Sanders. He's all hands on deck, and he doesn't let kids fall off, and I really appreciate him for that. The entire teaching and learning department. It's a powerful team, and I'm thankful to have you guys because you strengthen me, you challenge me to be better than I am. And a special shout out to Jay for the moral support, because he helps me keep my head up when I face challenges in being a leader in the building. The entire central office administration, thank you for supporting my nomination, for selecting me. I am a hard person to surprise. You guys did well, the arrangements, the flowers, everything. I'm like, how did they get this past me? You guys are good. I have to give you the props. The board of directors, thank you for your kindness and having me here tonight. Jennifer Orman and Owen Bandano, I learned that the saying iron sharpens iron is absolutely true because of you. And thank you for always pushing me to be the best I can be and telling me when I'm wrong. However, I need to recognize the people who taught me. So some of you may not know is my mom is a teacher. She still teaches middle school, and believe it or not, she outworks me. She taught me what it is to be a formidable educator and to go hard for the kids whose voices are not heard and sometimes not understood. My daddy is still my Superman. Thank you for teaching me how to make meaningful connections and how to communicate effectively with everyone. And thank you to everyone who came out to support me tonight, my family, my friends, my scholars, and last but not least, my blue fam that is in the building. I am truly grateful and honored. Thank you.
I just want to add a couple things, just making sure. Don't want to get too far off the agenda. But Ms. Fuller is one of the first teachers that I met, and I quickly became aware of how passionate she is and the types of relationships that she has with kids. Her kids, as you can see from Javier, truly love and respect her. And as we were walking in to recognize her last week, one of her students described her as having a heart of gold. I think that not only does she evoke this passion in her students, but also her colleagues by doing big and small things to build the culture, a positive culture in our school environment, in our district environment. I'm gonna out her a little bit. She's also a cheerleader in terms of any, big announcements or tough things that we have to share with the staff. She is the first person to reply to an email and say thank you or great job or I know that was tough, and share some encouraging words. So I truly appreciate that. She is a great person inside and out. And then, it was tough during this COVID time period. It was really, really tough. And I know Ms. Fuller had to dig deep, but she faced her fears, and it speaks to how much she cares about her kids and the profession, that she was able to overcome those fears with the courage to be in the classroom every day to meet the needs of all of her students. So I would like to say on behalf of the board, which I hope some others will share some comments, but on behalf of the school district, the Board of Education, the central office team, congratulations, it's well-deserved, and we are so proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hitchcock. Any comments from members of the board? Trustee Hoyle.
So I was very excited when I saw the news on Friday that Ms. Fuller had been named the Oak Park Teacher of the Year. for a number of reasons. Ms. Fuller is someone who has, when we were in virtual school, when we were doing school virtually because of COVID, Ms. Fuller invited me a couple times to join her classroom for different projects. She has, when she's particularly excited about an assignment that her students have done, sometimes she'll share those with the board. Sometimes I even get feedback from her about things that happened during a meeting. And I appreciate that because it speaks to her passion and her commitment. And something that strikes me about Ms. Fuller is that when I've had that opportunity to be in her classroom and watch the way she teaches, it's not just, as Dr. Hitchcock pointed out, the way that she reinvented her classroom for that online platform, using it to its greatest, really doing things in that virtual setting that wouldn't necessarily be possible in an in-person classroom. So really taking advantage of it, not just adapting to it. But also it strikes me that if I had to describe Ms. Fuller's classroom from the little bit that I've seen, it's a place where she's cultivating visionary leaders and compassionate citizens to be engaged in the global community, which of course is our vision of Oak Park. And so when I saw that she was named the Oak Park Teacher of the Year, it struck me that she's not just the Teacher of the Year from Oak Park, but she's the Oak Park Teacher of the Year. And when she goes to Oakland schools and hopefully beyond that to the state of Michigan and beyond that to the national stage, she can speak as a representative of what we stand for in Oak Park and what sets Oak Park apart. And that's something that makes me really proud. And so I'm really glad to congratulate you, Ms. Fuller.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Hoyer. Trustee Lunkins?
Ms. Stewart, office working now, but it's not working.
It's not working?
No. Anyhow, I usually talk loud anyway.
It's working.
Ms. Fuller, even though it's been a year and I didn't get the opportunity to know you because of other circumstances during that year, but from what I'm hearing from your students and from board members and parents that's here, we can't lose you. You've got to stay here with Oak Park. Okay, so I hope to see you 5 years from now. Okay, I'm gonna come in your classroom and knock on the door and say, yep, she's here. I'm gonna do that as soon as I'm able to get out and visit the schools. I am going to come to your classroom and knock on your door. Am I welcome? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lunkins. Trustee Corcoran?
Thank you. Ms. Fuller, I have known you for a very long time, and the whole entire time that I've known you, you've always been consistent at what you do, and that is love the children in the Oak Park District. I also wanted to tell you that you are a definition of the leader and what a leader is, a mentor, and identifying the strength in these children and the children of our future. And what they need is a person as yourself. You are a soarer. Thank you so much for all the work that you have done, for all the years that you have put into the hard work of educating and ensuring that the children reach the highest height that they can go. Also, to Javier, you stated, don't chase her away, don't worry, she's here to stay.
Thank you, Trustee Corcoran. Trustee Goodfriend, did you have comments?
No, I just want to say
Okay.
thank you. Thank you for working for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Goodfriend. Trustee Smith?
Yes. Ms. Fuller, I just want to say thank you for all that you do. I'm glad to bear witness to, the fruits of your labor and your achievement. I'm well aware of your commitment and dedication. A lot of the children that talk to me, they pass by me, they actually cross-compare, in certain situations, you amongst others, and I really appreciate that. And just you being an outstanding educator. We know that outstanding educators, they commit themselves to education, not just as instructors and as leaders, but as learners and listeners. and you do as well. And of course, being a Divine Nine member, you set the bar. So thank you so much, and appreciate all you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. I'll make a couple of comments, and I see the power of blue is in here this evening, both from the Sigmas and the Zetas are in the building. Just want to note that I've heard about your passion, and I've had an opportunity to witness that firsthand. Been speaking to the students in the Oakland Youth Innovation Lab. Had a chance to visit there and also watch as the students presented, I think it was last month. So tremendous job to you. Obviously, you command their respect, and they care about you and they love you, and that's hard to get as a teacher. So because you're doing it all. You tell them stuff they don't want to hear, and you tell them stuff they need to hear, and sometimes it's not always well received, but they know that you have their best interest at heart. Tremendously proud of all the projects that you have these students working on, and the extracurricular things that you're doing besides just the time you spend in the classroom that I'm sure that's by contract. And so we appreciate all you do extra on top of to make sure these students are cared for, felt loved, and are learning and growing. So we appreciate you for that. Thank you. So that concludes, I think. Is there any other comments from the administration? Ms. Baptiste is doing hand signals with the love.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Anything you do is everything you do. And you go above and beyond for your students, for the staff, for your family, your loved ones. Anything you do is everything you do. And it's such an honor to work with you as an educator. Thank you so much.
Okay, we will now go on to the next item, OPA and OPHS K-9 team demonstration. Dr. Hitchcock, you want to introduce?
Yes, I am going to have members of our K-9 team and elite detection come on up. One of the things one of the biggest gifts we're giving Ms. Fuller is she does not have to stay in the audience for the remainder of the board meeting this evening. So please, I hope you go out with your friends, source, SAMs, personals, and family, and have a great dinner celebration. Enjoy. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to shout out to Divine Nine as well. Thank you for being here. Okay, so we will transition to Elite Detection K-9. Many of you may have heard that in January, we added a K-9 team to the staffs at OPA and Oak Park High School. And they have already proven to make a tremendous impact. The mission of Elite Detection K-9 is saving lives and protecting our communities in the places people live, work, and play, and I would add learn through, just want to make sure we're okay, through the provision of K-9 teams and superior K-9s. So I will turn it over to Mr. Guidis to talk further about Elite Detection K-9, and we'll have a short demonstration.
Thank you, Dr. Hitchcock. I'd first like to thank the President and esteemed board for having us here this evening. And again, thank you, Dr. Hitchcock, for your vision in seeing the benefits that Brandy and Biggie bring to the Oak Park School District. And I also want to thank Principals Pam and Kim for their adoption of Biggie and Brandy. Biggie has a bed at both schools. Biggie and Brandy spend their time between both the high school and the junior high, and both principals have really taken to Biggie and really embraced them. So what we'd like to do, and also just want to introduce one of my colleagues standing behind me, Rick Hitu. He's our master trainer at Elite Detection K-9. And real quickly, Elite Detection K-9, we're a nonprofit company, and we purposefully breed, raise, and train explosive and firearm detection dogs right here in Southeast Michigan. And we provide our K-9 teams to schools and hospitals and businesses. So getting right to the point here, Brandy and Biggie will give a little demonstration. There is a training aid hidden in one of the bags in front of you. And so I will let them go through. And what you want to look for as Biggie and Brandy work the packages in the bags is watch Biggie's response. So when Biggie finds odor or detects odor, Biggie will provide a passive sit, notifying Brandy that he's on odor. And just to give you an analogy of the power of Biggie's nose, you and I as human beings, we can smell a teaspoon of sugar in a cup of coffee. Biggie, on the other hand, can smell that same teaspoon of sugar in the water that fills 2 Olympic-sized pools. So he's invaluable to detecting firearms and explosives that are hidden that we as humans can't see. And so, Brandy and Biggie, you ready to go to work?
Biggie was already sniffing up the storm all the way back there. Oh my gosh. You see that change in behavior right there?
So Biggie he works for that toy. That's his reward. And so the only time Biggie gets that toy is when he exhibits the behavior that we're expecting. And so that toy is the most meaningful to Biggie.
He really didn't know that liking a toy so much is going to lead to a job.
Any questions for myself, or Brandy, or Rick?
Can I add a couple things?
Yes.
One of the benefits, I mean, this is truly a benefit, that Brandy is a former San Diego police officer. Federal police in San Diego. Yes. And so she comes with a background in law enforcement that is tremendous to have an extra set of eyes and ears in the district, in addition to Biggie. Military too, yes, military too, don't let me forget that. So they are a powerhouse team. But in addition to the safety role that they play, they also play a role in compassion, empathy, and joy, I guess I could say. The way that our principals responded to Biggie when he first came, like the OPA principal, I thought I was gonna have to peel her off of him. She was trying to take him home with her. And then also our nurse. So what he does for the kids and the staff in terms of being a stress reliever, and certainly he's not a therapy dog, but I would say that some of the skills and benefits of a therapy dog he possesses as well, and the kids respond so well to him. When we visited the school in Avondale, when we first saw this model, I was sold when I saw kids kneeling down on the floor, hugging him. It just had a tremendous impact, and I believe he serves a dual purpose. And I know Pam, maybe she can speak to the experience here at the high school.
Yeah, it has truly been amazing having him here. It's that added layer of safety and security. I think that's the most important for us, especially in the world that we're living in today. So just knowing that he's there to provide that extra layer, that he's smelling things that we can't smell or see. And then he brings on that emotional support piece that even if a kid never touches him, they just walk by and they kind of see him, and Some kids don't want to touch him, then there's others that'll kind of come by because, you know, they know he's working and they're not supposed to, but they can't help but just touch him. And then the staff members, one of the security guards, like he sees him coming down the hall, Biggie gets extremely excited. So he has connections. He does the same thing with me every day, rubs all on my legs, and then I go home and my dog is not happy with me, and that's okay. But it's just, and then the relationships that we've built with Brandy as well. So yes, Biggie is a great addition, but so is Brandy. She has brought something to our team. She's invaluable as well. Even her connection with kids. We had a student I was telling her about was interested in the military. She's like, well, I was in the military. And I said, great, maybe that's something that you can have a discussion with him about. So it's this team that has brought this extra layer in many ways to the high school and to the middle school. Kim and I are constantly texting back and forth. You know, we need her today, we want her today, we're gonna do a demonstration. We actually had one of our incentives for students who did well on their iReady test was we did an ice cream social and a meet and greet with Biggie. So Biggie walked around, licked up ice cream off the floor, and he was very excited to be there. And one of the, you know, some of the pictures we had was him with some students on the floor. So it brings so much to us, honestly. I would love to have another one so that Miss Regina and I aren't arguing about where Biggie's going to be and that we could just both have one.
I support that, by the way. Anybody's wondering.
But thank you so much for approving this and bringing this to us. It really has made just such a big difference in so many different aspects of the students' lives. You know, safety and security obviously is the most important, but having an animal there to show students to be compassionate, to treat you know, everyone and animals, you know, with the utmost respect and kindness. And those are things that students don't normally get in school. So I feel like we're very special in that we're bringing that to our kids every day.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to add to that, you know, it's no secret that there have been a couple weapons discovered first semester, and we shared that with our community. Since Biggie and Brandy have come on board, we have not found any weapons at the high school or at the middle school, and that is something that we are tremendously proud of and believe that he's already made a tremendous difference.
Thank you. Any comments from members of the board? Trustee Lunkins.
Yes, when you request for Biggie to come to, is there any other dogs that have been trained to do the same thing that he does?
Yes, we at Elite Detection K-9, we have teams in other high schools and hospitals, and we deploy K-9 teams like Brandy and Biggie all over the country. That's the service that we provide. And so currently we have at our facility a little over 60 K-9s, labs like Biggie and German Shepherds that we're training for this purpose.
Now, do the dogs go home with the individual they're going to be working with, or do they stay on campus?
No, Biggie lives with Brandy. They're a team. And I suspect, and Brandy has some children that to her children, Biggie's just their pet. They don't see Biggie as a working dog. They just see him as a pet.
Thank you. Trustee Corcoran.
Oh, yes. I just had a few questions. The first question is going to be, what other districts are using Biggie that are in our geographical area?
Sure. Avondale School District is using Biggie. Avondale is using Lucy Walker and Lisa, and we're talking to several other school districts. As you might expect, since the horrific event at Oxford High School, there's been significant amount of interest. And what's really, I think, important from a vision standpoint is Avondale and Oak Park. Dr. Hitchcock actually took the initiative and had the vision to do this prior to that event. There's a lot of school districts now reacting as a result, but Dr. Hitchcock and Dr. Schwartz at Avondale had the vision to do this, forward thinking.
The other question that I had is, when the backpacks are spreaded here and Biggie went there, is Biggie just like, when you go to the airport and you're standing in line and they just have the dog just, go in a circular motion? So when the kids are entering the building, or is it when someone assumes something is going wrong?
No, that's a great question. Biggie is working when the students enter the building. As they move about the building, they do locker searches, perimeter searches of all the rooms. And so Biggie is constantly working as the students are milling about.
So is Biggie here every day or Monday through Friday?
Biggie and Brandy split their time between the high school and the middle school.
Understood.
As Principal Pam mentioned, they communicate very well and share the resource.
All right. And you guys are local, right?
Yes, we're based out of Rochester Hills.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Smith.
Yeah, initially, when we decided to move with this objective, were the students informed before this, or they were informed? Okay, so what was that initial response when they first saw? Because my main concern is the high schoolers. What was their initial response? How do you feel? Brandy, how do you feel when they first saw you and met you? And I knew it grew on you. I mean, you grew on them, but what was that initial?
So I had sent out in my weekly newsletter, that he was coming, and then after our holiday break, we were off for 2 weeks at the high school. So, it was really this anticipation because they knew it was coming, but,
Right.
and then it was delayed 2 weeks. Originally, kids were not quite sure, like, what is he really doing? Because he has a sign on him that says "Do not pet" because he's working.
Mm-hmm.
So there was I had one student who said, I'm afraid of dogs, and I said, then don't go buy him. So I'm sitting, the dog comes over, she comes stands next to me. I said, well, you said you were afraid of dogs. She's like, yeah, but if he's by you, it should be okay. And I think there's some kids who maybe not had great experiences, and they see that he's extremely mellow and laid back, and he does not approach kids. He doesn't do anything like that. So I think kids now, I don't think they pay any attention to him at all. It's funny, he's kind of changes, like, again, his nose is constantly moving. Some days I'll come out and he's on a table, just as they're walking in. There's other days he's on the floor. It just kind of what he does is what he does. And him and Brandy do a perimeter search every morning before students enter the building, and then as students come in, as students exit the building. If there's anything we have concerns about, she'll be available to us. She's in the hallways during hall passing. The students see her and Biggie all the time throughout the day.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fee, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Brandy, what branch of service were you in? Navy. Aru, Navy. Thanks for your service.
Trustee Hoyt Alcom.
Thank you. So I also want to recognize what you spoke about in terms of the vision from Dr. Hitchcock and bringing this to our district. I was just reading today in Chalkbeat, which is a news site that covers K-12 education, how in their analysis they've been looking at how different districts are spending their COVID money, and they've noticed this trend that a lot of schools are bringing in K-9 teams, and obviously Oak Park was at the forefront of that. So having that vision to make sure that as we're providing for safety and security, that we're not sacrificing safety, that feeling, that environment of safety by putting in place measures that would take away from that. I think that really lends to our strategic plan, where when we talk about safe, supportive, and collaborative learning environments, that we don't have to compromise between the two. So that's something I appreciate. And in addition to that, one of the things I've spent a lot of time these last few weeks in Oxford High School, and one of the things that I've noticed is they have a lot of different therapy dog teams, and that's obviously something different. But when they come in the room, us mental health professionals are no longer useful. The kids that we have the hardest time with, that we may have barriers with when those dogs come in. It's something that that is amazing to watch. And so I really do have seen that power, and I appreciate that we're able to have that in that district. So thank you for your partnership, and thank you, Dr. Hitchcock, for your vision in bringing that to our district.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Corcoran.
Thanks. Dr. Hitchcock stated that there hadn't been any, unexpected incidents. But I just wanted to know, what is the procedure if there is an incident? And like if the kids are coming in the building and there's a unexpected fight breakout and Biggie's there, does Biggie interfere, or does he just lay back or move away, or, what is that procedure as well?
Well,
Dr. Hitchcock, you want to respond?
sure. I am very cognizant of we are live, so I don't want to share too much about what our procedure would be. I can share that because I would be sharing that with the world. But what I can share is that I sat down with Elite Detection K-9, with Brandy, with Dan Phillips, who oversees security, with Greg, with Pam, and we developed a protocol and procedures that are consistent with our board policies for what we would do in a school environment if Biggie was to get a hit or signal that there was a weapon or some type of inappropriate object in the school setting. In terms of what we would do specifically, I would prefer to share that. I'll send an email to the board with the protocols about what we would do if he signaled to us that there was a weapon. But the second question, in terms of a fight or any other situation like that, Biggie is not involved in that. And Pam, you can speak to that if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, we would never have Biggie interact or get involved if there was a fight that we were breaking up. Again, we don't want Biggie to be injured, and he's only this big, and so he's also not trained for that. He's not an aggressive dog. He's not like a pointy-eared dog where he's been trained to attack. That is not at all his purpose, and that's not what we want to use him for. Brandy would typically try to get out of the way so that her and Biggie don't have to get involved in that. Because again, we don't want him injured at all. And if a kid stumbles back or something, he's standing there, he could be injured. So she and Biggie would not be involved.
Now, the great thing about in a situation like that is Biggie and Brandy would jump into their specific role, which is if we were concerned that there were weapons involved, or there was a weapon in the child's locker, or there was a weapon hidden in a garbage can, she would take Biggie out and circle the perimeter, do a thorough check of any places, crevices where these things could be hidden. And so that's the role that Biggie and Brandy have played in a situation where there's a fight or there's some concern about retaliation.
Yeah, or she will assist us in clearing out the students, getting those kids moving or exiting if it's dismissal or something. So she could assist us in that way with Biggie.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Dr. Hitchcock, for your foresight on this and your leadership and bringing us at the beginning before everyone else tries to jump on board and get a Biggie of their own.
There's only one Biggie.
That's right, that's right.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we are the Lessinger Classroom Furniture, Wendy Short, Barry, I want to say, I hope I say this right, Pfeiffer, Interior Environments.
Where are we? Pardon me, President.
I'm sorry.
Where are we on the agenda? What number? I'm sorry.
We're at 4C.
Thanks.
Good advice.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Brandy North, Director of Early Childhood. I'm here to give a little prelude to our guest today. So I have worked with this wonderful team very diligently to make sure that we made the right selections for Lessinger. And they have a presentation to highlight that. So it's been a lot of effort, a lot of collaboration put into this plan and this layout that we have selected. So I just wanted to give that little prelude before they came up here.
Thank you.
Wendy first.
Yes. Hi, I'm Wendy with Interior Environments, and I've been the project, sorry about that.
Thank you.
I've been the project designer working on this project for everybody. And I'm Barry Pfeiffer. I am the K-12 account manager with Interior Environments. We have had the pleasure of working with Mr. Phillips and Mr. Barnett, as well as Ms. North. Just really, for us as a group, what we really try to do is kind of understand the needs of the district, understand the needs for the Early Childhood Center, and really put together a package for you utilizing consortium pricing. So everything that you see in the package that you have is already competitively bid and fulfills those requirements. We've worked hand in hand just trying to understand the budget as well as the needs and to put together something that's not only beautiful, functional, as well as cost effective for the district.
One of the things they did too was they collaborated with partners in architecture to design furniture that would match the decor of the classrooms as well. So they've done a really, really nice job of syncing all of the furniture with the flooring and everything. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful center. I'm excited to see it. And these ladies have worked very, very hard, and Brandy has worked really, really hard to get the right pieces of furniture in the right spots. So I'm very confident that this is a nice package of furniture, and it will just add to the beauty of the Lessinger Early Childhood Center, which I'm extremely excited about to open. So, is there anything else you want to, any questions for we're all here for you.
Trustee Smith.
Yes. So, no, in several statements, Trustee Griffin had also always brought to the attention about, the availability of equipment, and are we seeing that at this time?
Yes, we have put together a project schedule for Oak Park, taking into consideration the longest lead time manufacturing items, and we feel that taking all of that into consideration, especially the fact that we're looking to get this in front of you in March, is really being able to have the manufacturing time within the schedule so that we can meet the timeframes of opening the facility. So we feel very comfortable with that. Our manufacturer partners have assured us that we are within those timeframes right now.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yes, and everything also, as Mr. Barnett has mentioned, we are also working with all U.S. manufacturers. And so as far as that as well, we don't necessarily have supply chain issues from overseas product.
Thank you.
Trustee Goodfriend.
Yes, thank you very much. I have several questions.
Yes.
I would like to know, first of all, Interior Environments, where are they located? Are they local? Are
Yes, we are located in Novi, Michigan.
In Novi, Michigan. Okay. And I will tell you honestly that I am in the business. I've been in the business for 19 years. And when I looked at some of the items, they're very familiar to me. The brands, the colors, the models, and all. How did you put out the bids so that, maybe I'm not putting this just exactly the way it would be professionally. Where did you present that there was an offer for bids?
Hello.
So similar to how we purchased the HVAC equipment, we're using consortium pricing. So like the Omnia partners, different consortiums that have sent out pre-bids, and then they have there's several lines that they have in different consortiums, so that the pricing is the best pricing possible, and it's all been done under competitive bid by companies like Omnia Partners.
Okay.
So
Thank
they're
you.
not, it's not just coming from, they're pulling from several different consortiums.
And what Mr. Smith did say is absolutely true. Deliveries are misery. And even though they're in the United States, manufacturers, that's not helping, okay? They're not the truck drivers to deliver it, am I right? Okay, so we can be promised dates, it doesn't always happen. Much of the time, since the first of the year, it's been misery, okay? I do see, and since I am familiar, and I work with this every day, many items that I recognize and many items that I recognize the pricing on. Common top versus an individual on a file. I'd like to know what type of file, what is the construction of the file. Is it a locking file? Is it a lateral file? Is it a letter file? These are very important questions.
So all of the storage, like you're discussing, is metal. So it's made out of metal, and in the classrooms, there is a combination of a lateral file with a lock, and then the open bookshelf, which is the two high bookshelf. Both
Right.
are metal, and then the common top is laminate.
And these files, although they're locking, are they fireproof?
They're not, no.
No, they are not fire files.
Because that's a very important item, since we have confidentiality that we have to protect for our young people and their families, as well as to be able to provide us the safest way to keep our records when, and God forbid, there is a fire. And it does happen. That does happen. We would hope it would never happen. That school is very special to me. All my 4 children went to that school, as well as the Oak Park School Districts. But since I am so familiar with much of this and the prices, and the retail prices, and the cost, I would be hopeful that there could be a breakdown of manufacturers that are going to be provided, the name of the manufacturers, of the files, of the conference table, the 30 by 60, there's credenzas, okay? And this is terribly important. Once you buy, this is not a throwaway society. This is for a long time. So we have to have construction, fireproof, we have to have what fits, not the beauty. I do agree with Mr. Barnett that at the lookings and the colors and scheme are very important, but the most important part is durability, confidentiality, and I would like to know the names of the manufacturers.
Okay. In the presentation, there is a page that does list out every manufacturer that we are utilizing, as well as the contract that we are, the buying group purchasing contract of that manufacturer. The lateral files, most of our office equipment is part of the All Steel family of companies. So All Steel and Hahn are both the two
Okay,
manufacturers.
so if you say Hahn, I know Hahn.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know who LCL is, and I really don't care who LCL is. I want to know the manufacturer and the warranty, how
Yes.
they stand behind it. Because I'm not trying to be critical of anyone. I'm trying to make sure that we have the best for our buck.
Exactly.
And I know what the bucks are in here because I started looking tonight. I have been ill, so I have been a little negligent, but I will always watch you, and I will watch the prices, and I want to know where they come from. Terribly important. Are they imported by Han? Han has an imported
No, these are all manufactured
All right.
in Muscatine, Iowa.
Muscatine.
Yes.
That's where they're at. That's right. And they're having a terrible time freight-wise.
We are a dedicated all steel and Han dealership.
I know who
So
else
we
they
have our we have trucks that come in every single week to us. We have not had any issues with any shipping delays. So I feel very confident in the way that our manufacturers have utilized their transportation partners, that they will get everything to us on time and with no delays.
And I will tell you, I personally know the gentleman that is our representative personally.
Oh, Mark?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Mark.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Griffin, on page 38, you'll see all of the contracts.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My question to you, since Trustee Goodfriend mentioned something about Fireproof, to what percentage of the time do you provide Fireproof file cabinets inside a school?
Typically, because the files are metal, they do have some fire resistancy. A fireproof file is actually going to be, it's kind of a file within a concrete file. And so we typically very rarely put a fire file within a school. And a lot of that, especially in those classrooms, it's because they're so hard to move. So it really hurts
So
the
it's rare.
cleanability.
So this is not an anomaly that we don't
no.
have them?
No.
You'd be
not
Okay,
surprised.
all right. And then my next question is, well, it's a comment.
Let me just jump in there too.
Go ahead.
If we were putting Fireproof in, it would drive the cost up.
I know
because-
that, yeah,
We had a Fireproof shell at Lessinger. It took like 4 people to get that 4-drawer file into the dumpster. It was so heavy, because the concrete walls are terrible. But confidentially wise, these are locking cabinets. So there are locks built into them so that people can't access them.
But my concern is, we're not abnormal by not having them. That's my concern.
Every
Thank you.
file cabinet, when I go through the schools, every file cabinet is just a normal file cabinet with a lock on it.
In fact, do we have any Fireproof file cabinets anywhere in the district that's not in central office?
The only one that I was aware of was that one at Lessinger didn't have the drawers. I have never seen a fire cabinet in all my walks of the classrooms. I've never seen a fire cabinet anywhere.
Thank you.
I just want to say to you, Mr. Burnett, maybe you haven't. You can come anytime to a Han, and I'm not recommending any individual distributor, but I will tell you, my 4 delivery men can take them up 3 flights of stairs easily.
Thank you, Trustee Goodfriend. I have one other comment. In looking at the deck that was provided, I would just caution that you have, how can I say this? That it be a diverse deck with diverse people in the deck, okay? That would be my one caution.
Yes, and that is something that as we have been updating our internal documents, as we are really, as a company, trying to add that. And then that's one thing also, as we complete projects, we're also looking to our partner districts to do more professional photography, to get more representation of the districts that we serve within our portfolio.
You hit the nail right on the head. Thank you very much.
And excuse me, one moment, one other question, Mr. Hellman, is there a possibility, well, there is a possibility, that we can have pictures to actually see the items, okay? The desk, the bookshelves are open, so that means it's just an open bookshelf. But when it comes to desks, when it comes to the files, when it comes to a common top versus individual, et cetera, I was wondering if you
I
had
think
that.
one of the board book links is all of the furniture. It, first of all, starts out showing all the pictures of Wendy and
Oh, yes, I
Barry and
know.
all that. But if you keep scrolling down, it gives you all the model classrooms.
Yeah.
It lets you see every piece of furniture, every pad, every color.
Yep.
I mean, we didn't, I don't know, we couldn't put up on here, but it's a lot of pages of all this stuff, so.
I have all those.
Yeah, I feel like they've shown us and given us everything possible for us to be able to see
Well, they've
that.
given to you, Mr. Barnett, but the board itself has not had that opportunity.
No,
We have
Trustee
it.
Trustee
have
Goodfriend, you have the pictures in the
have it
deck.
right
Is there
here.
something that you don't see that
Thank
you
you.
want?
Okay, I will call you. Thank you.
And just for additional reassurance, for files and et cetera, we are working towards being digital and having secure drives in which we store all of that. So if there is any loss, we will have all that. So it's not easily accessible in the building as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Trustee
Thank you.
Goodfriend, are there pictures that you're looking for that you don't see in this deck?
I haven't had the opportunity to go through this.
Got you. Okay, thank you. Trustee Corcoran, thank you.
Yeah, I actually happened to see the whole entire layout, plans, but unfortunately, when I get to the little bitty itty bitty writing, I can't see it. But is it at all possible that we can get a packet
Yes.
just to reference to?
Yes.
You know, as you stated, things are
Yes.
going so digital, but honestly, I have to make it as wide, you know, just to see it, just for, you know, because this is a project, and it's a long project, so I would like to just go back and look at and check off what progression is being made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any
Mr.
other
Woods.
comments from the board? Trustee Hoyt.
So my computer battery died, so I don't have access to the deck. Oh, thank you, President Elvin.
You can't use touchscreen on that, though. It's a Mac. Use your 2 fingers.
All right. I do have a couple questions. As we're looking at this, I want to understand more about the functionality of some of the rooms so I can understand how the furniture is going to be used. So can you tell me about the parent lounge? What is that going to be used for?
Okay, so a big component of GSRP that we want to extend across all of early childhood education is that family engagement. One of the things that's very vital to GSRP, that's one of our tenets, is to have the family be involved and bridge the gap between the lack of participation and some of the obstacles and barriers that might keep families from being involved in their child's education. So we wanted to make sure that we slated a space for families to come in, whether they're waiting on us, whether we do small presentations, whether they're coming in to volunteer. We have goals to take regular field trips. So if they're in there prior to the field trip, they can go in there and mingle, just to build that community and get that vested buy-in in Oak Park schools so that we can build that relationship early on and hopefully retain those families and build solid educational careers for both them and their children.
Okay. So then, again, from what I'm seeing, it looks like the parent lounge has room for a small number of parents.
So it's 2 rooms.
Okay.
One room has computers in it where parents can come in and do applications. If they have that digital divide, we wanted to address that. If they needed to search for jobs, if we want to be a complete support to our families, GSRP has income requirements so that we know there might be some challenges for our families. So that particular room is like a tech/meeting area where we can conduct meetings with parents. We're looking into partnering with other organizations for them to come in and do workshops or activities with our parents. They can use that space as well. The lounge is another place to kind of build that socialization element. So it's 2 rooms. One is the meeting/tech area, and one is the lounge engagement area.
So there's 2 offices here. I'm
Yes.
guessing one of them is for that and one of them is
Yes.
is an office for the school.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then, as you mentioned, with the GSRP and the K-12, and the kindergarten classrooms. So there are desks with I think it's 6 children's chairs around a half circle and then an adult chair. What is going to be the planned staff to student ratio in those classrooms?
Okay, so the kidney bean tables with the adult chair. That's 18 per room. So our goal is to expand. Right now we're at 16-2, so 16 students, 2 staff members for GSRP. But with the new space, we are empowered to expand and serve 18 children per class. That requires 3 staff members. With that, each staff member has a table and will service 6 kids for small groups because that's a large premise in our program. So we're just moving from 2 staff and 16 students to 3 staff and 18.
Okay, and that's why there's.
Yeah, that's why there's 3.
tables.
The kindergarten rooms have more flexible furniture because those teachers might do small groups. That's a hybrid, so the curriculum looks different. Therefore, we gave them more flexibility for their curriculum and instruction opportunities.
Got it. And so then there's another one that says preschool classroom. Is that different from GSRP and kindergarten?
Yes, that's general preschool classroom.
Okay.
That will be that. Oh yes. So the difference in there is GSRP classrooms technically don't have desks or not allowed or permissible to have desks. So what we did was we removed those desks from the GSRP classrooms because initially there were some slated to be in there, and we created a teacher work area. So if the teachers need desks or they're doing professional development virtually or collaboration, there is a teacher work area with, I think there's 5 desks in there. There are desks in there, but there's small work areas where teachers can go and have a workspace. However, in their classrooms, they do not have desks. The kinder and preschool rooms have desks because that's permissible. That's a part of the K-12 continuum, and they can have desks in those rooms.
And so it's the same age, GSRP and preschool?
No, GSRP is our state-run program. Preschool will be offered by Oak Park Schools.
Okay.
Directly from us.
And then the ECSE, is that special ed?
Yes, that's early childhood special education. That's a smaller class. That will be 12 students in the mornings and 12 students in the afternoon. It's a half day, 4 days a week program.
Okay, so what it's going to look like in those buildings is what ages are going to be attending school in those buildings?
Okay, so including early childhood special education, we can go from 2.5 to 6 years of age. Our babies, our little ones, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Oh.
I just want to say, she's really harnessed tonight. I'll tell you what, her excitement is overwhelming. I mean, she has thought this out. I don't know what it's like inside Brandy's head, but I can only imagine what it's like. She has just taken this center on and worked with the 2 ladies here. It's just amazing how she thinks everything out and all that. It's just wonderful working with Brandy. So I just want to compliment Brandy on, she's really worked really, really hard on this center. And I think it's just gonna flourish like nobody's business. I really believe it's gonna flourish.
Looking forward to it. Trustee Smith?
Yeah, I think that's gonna be an outstanding concept in regards to having this parent room in there, because being that this is early childhood, the GSRP, Great Starts Readiness Program, so we're getting parents at the beginning, with their children. So that may open up avenues for the parents themselves to be more involved, because that's what we're missing. We're missing parental involvement, and I think that's going to be a great start for the parents. I used to be the vice president of the GSRP program in Detroit for Detroit Public Schools.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, and one of the hardest things was always getting parents to get to the meetings and so forth. So I think by having that there and allowing them to be there, that'll allow them to segue into the different age groups,
Yes.
as they move along. Good job.
Thank you.
Looking forward to
And
it.
I've worked with Dr. Hitchcock and Ms. Baptiste, and we've talked about ways to make this the foundation and the launch pad for students in Oak Park to hopefully build that relationship and build our enrollment and really build a community in Oak Park with regards to starting young and getting them very vested in our district. So therefore, we can retain and really see the fruit of our labor.
There you go. Thank you.
Can I just say thank you to Brandy for your hard work and all that you're doing behind the scenes in collaboration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We're at item 5A, and we're going to go into our reports, and our first report this evening is from Dr. Hitchcock.
Okay, good or good evening, everyone. I'm still getting adjusted to the time. First, I'd like to thank our guests who came out this evening. We appreciate your support and partnership from Interior Environments, as well as both Brandy and Steve for their passion and commitment on the Lessinger Early Childhood Center project. It is a thrill and something that we can all be very excited about. So thank you so much for your hard work and just partnership. We know that a lot goes into the decisions that are made. I also want to share and recognize the hard work of the OPA administration. Of course, OPA is our middle school. The OPA administration, Kim Regina, Doug Island, Dawn Izzy, Megan Mitchell, the instructional coach, and Amber Miller, the Title I specialist, and all of the teachers for their hard work. OPA's growth scores were 25% better on iReady than they performed in elementary school, so in the K-5 years. OPA moved 100 students into proficient into the green area, which is within or above grade level, from yellow, which was 1 year below grade level on the iReady assessment. This is huge. A tremendous amount of work. The students made more than a year's worth of growth in a year's time, and it truly speaks to the leadership and commitment of the staff. With this tremendous progress, nearly 200 students are now proficient in math and English language arts at OPA. Something that we can all clap for and be proud of. On Friday, this past Friday, we celebrated this accomplishment with the OPA staff by providing them a luncheon for the staff, and the students participated in the Academic Academy Awards. And of course, Ms. Regina made sure that there was a red carpet available for the students who have been doing so well to participate and be recognized. And we believe that high achievement is infectious. And so we want to spread that excitement throughout the student body and make sure that every student understands how cool it is to do well and perform well in school. This is a significant amount of progress in a very, very challenging school year. I would argue probably the most challenging of all of the 3 years of the pandemic. So Ms. Regina, the OPA staff, and students, we are extremely proud of you, so thank you. Lessinger update, we just heard a lot about Lessinger. We recently took a tour of Lessinger, the cabinet team, and saw all the progress of the facility firsthand. We are so excited to open the doors of the Early Childhood Center this fall 2022. We anticipate the facility being finished mid to end of the summer. And again, I want to recognize Brandy North, Early Childhood Center Director, and Steve Burnett, Facilities Manager, for all of their hard work and preparation. And then to prepare for all of our little ones to attend the Early Childhood Center, as well as our kindergarten classes in our elementary schools, we will have a virtual pre-K and kindergarten enrollment informational, which will be held on Thursday, March 17th at 9 a.m. It will be held virtually. We want to ensure that all parents are able to attend. If you have a child who will be enrolling in pre-K or kindergarten in the 22-23 school year, please join us. All 3 elementary principals and our early childhood director will be available to answer questions and share about the preschool and kindergarten programs on the call. And then I'd like to recognize 13 Oak Park student athletes who attended the New Balance Indoor Nationals in New York City this past weekend. Nona Waldron, 11th grader, won the 60-meter hurdles and ranked #1 in the nation in that event. Morgan Roundtree, 10th grader, Draylon Mapp, 12th grader, and Nona Waldron again, and Kylie King, 10th grader, participated in the sprint medley relay, and they are also #1 in the nation. And in the shuttle hurdle relay, Nona Morgan Carey Vanoy, who's a 9th grader, and Iman Miles, a 12th grader, ranked #1 in the nation. So we are well known throughout the country for this tremendous effort in track and field. And then finally, I want to give a shout out to Janae Coleman, who is a 6th grader at OPA. She's the youngest competitor. She was the youngest competitor at the national meet and participated in the Rising Stars 800-meter run. And she did very well and was the youngest participant there. So shout out to Janae Coleman and keep up the tremendous work. So, and then I'd like to welcome Patrick Griffin, who is the new DM Burr Safety Director. So, of course, Jerome Collins is the Oak Park School District Director, and the person that he reports to, he has a new supervisor, and that person's name is Patrick Griffin, and he's employed directly through DM Burr. Mr. Griffin just started last week and started his career as a Detroit and Westland police officer. From there, he was hired as a protective security specialist for Civilian Police International. He provided security for the United Nations and various State Department diplomats and dignitaries, where he traveled to Kosovo and Baghdad. He has a wealth of security experience that will serve DM Burr's organization very well, and he will also serve as an experienced security thought partner with our safety director, Jerome Collins. We look forward to the leadership of their team and putting the protocols and procedures in place that were mentioned at our last board meeting through the security assessment. So welcome, Mr. Griffin. We're looking forward to working with him. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hitchcock. Any questions for Dr. Hitchcock? Trustee Smith, or comments, I'm sorry.
I have one question, and I want to walk this with a level of sensitivity, but I think it's something that can be not discussed, but just answered. With DM Burr, in regards to so our district, we have DEI initiatives that we have going on. Are we aware of any DEI initiatives that DM Burr may have, or any of our contractors? Do we?
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you.
And it's a very important point, and I understand the gravity of it. It's part of the conversation that came about through the security assessment and an issue that Ms. Diglio had brought up to our third-party contractors, not just DM Burr, but all of them. As you know, we have Chartwells, we have First Student, we have DM Burr, we have strategic staffing, that there needs to be a level of training that is provided in the area of DEI in a variety of areas. And so that is something that Ms. Diglio has been working closely with our third-party contract leadership to help them understand the value of that. DM Burr in particular, as a result of our security assessment and our conversations, now that we have some folks in place, because we had a variety of, we had some staffing changes there, we will be charging them with ensuring that they provide the necessary training for DEI, as well as training for a variety of areas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hitchcock. Okay. Our next report. Our next report is from Cassandra Baptiste, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning. Ms. Baptiste.
Yes, hi, good evening. So this evening, I will be reporting on, this evening, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right, awesome. I will be reporting on Public Act 48, Section 98B, and that is goal progress reporting, and it's one of the final pieces to the extended continuity of learning plan that we were tasked with maintaining and upholding in the last 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we are to report to the state, and they actually have our benchmark assessment data directly from the district to a state portal on the MDE, but we are to report publicly on our benchmark assessments and goal progress. At the beginning of the year, I shared goals that were written at the top, so where it says middle of the year reading goal and then middle of the year mathematics goal, that goal was set forth at the September 13th board meeting. And then the students hadn't taken the iReady completely as of yet, so they took the iReady in the fall, and then they recently took the iReady assessment as of February. And we had some school closures, some snow days, some, missteps that took place within our testing window. So we wanted to make sure that the testing window closed and that all the data reporting was final and complete, which is why we did not present this at the February 28th board meeting. We wanted to make sure we had as many students as possible who completed the test within our assessment window. And so we're presenting tonight the annual typical growth, the progress that students have made within their annual typical growth. So it's not proficiency. What annual typical growth is the student's grade level at the beginning of the year, the expectation of what they are to learn and how much they are to grow within the course of a year. That's what that is what annual typical growth measures, and that is what we are reporting to the state. Are our students on track within the annual typical growth that's set forth by their grade level, and that's juxtaposed with norm reference standards across the United States. So what we have is, I had to go back to the drawing board and revamp, and also with my team, the end of year reading goal and the end of year math goal. So for the middle of the year, we wanted for our students to be 50% above the annual typical growth, reflecting the fall to winter scaled score growth within the iReady assessment. The same thing for the reading iReady assessment and the same thing for the math assessment. We wanted the students to showcase at this point of the year that they would have shown enough growth of retaining and receiving information at 50%, middle of the year. Makes sense. Looking at our scores, our students superseded that. And what that is a testament to is the work that's happening with our teaching staff, with our students, with our families, and what we really want to see is proficiency, ideally on something like the M-STEP, because that's what measures proficiency. At any given, on a given day that a student walks in to take a test, are they performing at grade level? And we know how we started out the school year, and we still have a lot more growth to achieve. More information about that and more detailed by grade level, by domain, is going to be at our next board meeting. At the very next board meeting, I'll have more detailed information about where our students are with phonological awareness, with algebraic thinking, like more detailed information, K-12. So for the state, we are to report K-8. At our next board meeting, I'm going to do a deeper dive by grade level, by comparison of fall to winter, and targeting how many students at each grade level moved from 2 or more grade levels to 1 grade level to now in what we categorize as the green, which is where we want to be. So if you take a gander, if you take a look at this, you'll see that, so the first table establishes the goals. We established those goals in September. I have included our end of year goals. At our second to last board meeting in June, I will be presenting the spring iReady data. So at that meeting, that's why you see at the other end of Table B, reading and math is not there, and that's because the students have not taken the spring assessment as of yet. So I have all students, 58 are at the 58, and this is K-8, by the way. This is specifically for K-8. I have that the students are 58% of the students have met the 50% marking for their annual typical growth. And then on the other end for math, 56%. So they exceeded the original goal that we had set forth. So for the end of the year, I moved the goalposts to, we want our students to be at or above 100% of annual typical growth. And I see that that happened in the 8th grade already for math. And so we've got to push. And that's my report.
I do have one question. So I note that like I know it's a little difficult, but like in grades 1 and 2, we're below that 50% threshold that you were talking about.
Yes.
Are we doing something to address that?
We are, and so that is one of the biggest pushes right now for our MTSS teams, is to look at what exactly is happening, not only on iReady, but when students take the DIBELS assessment, what's happening with all 5 pillars of literacy, and then what intervention services are students receiving while they are in the schoolhouse, what activities can parents do within their homes, and across the board, what types of Title I activities can we be engaging in as a district in all 3 elementary schools.
So you expect then, based on that response, that
I
these
do
numbers
expect
will
to
go up?
see growth in that
Thank you.
area, because what I say is in K1 and 2, what you eat is what you cook is what we eat in grades 3, 4, and 5 and above when the students take
Exactly.
the state test.
Yeah, exactly. Any other, Trustee Smith?
Yeah, so, and here's my concern, and I hope it proves better along in time, but do we feel that our current state with the shift in teachers right now may have an impact on our goals?
It definitely has an impact. There's no way that there's data that showcases that, you know, what's one of the most critical areas in a child's life, and consistency is going to be having that stable, everyday, you know, staff member or teacher that's present in their lives, academically, social, emotionally. So it does make a difference. I'd be remiss to say that it doesn't. It does.
So with that said, no, let that stay there.
Any other questions for Ms. Baptiste? Trustee Hoyter?
So, forgive me because I just want to make sure that I understand what I'm looking at. When we look at the breakdowns here, as you said, we're looking at growth numbers, essentially what we used to call grading on a curve, compared to other similar students around the country and their growth numbers. Is that right?
So annual typical growth, how that is measured, is the baseline of how a student performs, and then their grade level. Their grade level and where they're supposed to be performance-wise is norm referenced. So that's where nationwide the norm reference comes into play, that if you're a first grader at Oak Park, how are you measuring to first graders anywhere across the land? And there's a composite score that iReady and NWEA creates, so that at the beginning of the year you have an idea what a first grader is supposed to be able to achieve, or how much growth they're supposed to showcase within a given year.
So it's not looking at those numbers elsewhere for this year, it's looking at the typical growth from years past.
In order to create norm reference data, they do have to factor in years past.
Got it. And then when it's broken down by demographic, so for example, where we say that our English learners are in the 100th percentile for this data, is that among other English learners, or is that the same target no matter what demographic?
That is specifically for English language learners, for that category, or what they would consider a subgroup. And this 100%, what it represents is K-8, we have 34 English language learners who took that exam. In order for this to count as a data point, you need at least 20 students or more, so we had 34. Of the 34 students who took the iReady assessment, those students showed that they have met 100% of their annual typical growth for this time of the year.
Got it. Okay.
Trustee Smith?
Yeah. So to the second part of my question, I wasn't ready to ask what I was going to ask here. So, to strategize, do we feel that with our changing or a changing of teachers, or our revolving door of teachers, do we put more on the parents to try to tackle this issue, or, you know, is that something that we may, that we're doing now, or may plan to do, to put more of the onus on, not the onus on the parents, but just get more parents to say, hey, you know, we have teachers, because it's nationwide, without a question, we understand that, but do we think that is part of our plan to put a little bit more on our parents to try to fill some of that void in assisting the children at home?
So I'm a huge advocate of family and community engagement, and I get what you're saying in terms of onus, because sometimes it's like, oh, well, what's happening at home? They're not doing enough. But for some families, and most families, we're educators, we're specialists, we have an understanding of instruction and pedagogy and how to support students. One of the things that my hope is for Oak Park and all of us here at part of Cabinet is family and community engagement and the opportunity to engage. One of the things that I know is happening across our schools is there's conversations about iReady with families. What is the iReady assessment? Because we made the switch from NWEA to iReady. So what does that even mean? And then encouraging families attendance-wise to send your student to school, make sure your student comes into school to take the assessment, because it helps us put them on a personalized learning platform. What is the personalized learning platform? We send information home about that. And then the other piece is, it is detrimental to any student's educational career to have a rotation of so many teachers. That's an issue, not just at Oak Park, but nationwide with the teacher shortage and so much. But one of the things that I have found specifically at Oak Park is students also interact with school social workers, school psychologists, paraprofessionals, their principal. They have direct contact to so many adults and so many people within their school community. And that's one of the things that has also helped in terms of iReady, because there's a huge culture around celebrating not only taking the assessment, but what it can do for you. And also when parents come in, a part of data conversations and data chats, that's one of the biggest successes I could see, and really huge shout out for the middle school and their instructional coach. She developed a data chat graphic organizer so the staff can talk to students about where they are and how much growth they have to make, and you know what that looks like for proficiency, so the students have a better understanding and are more motivated. And then also on the flip side, the parents then get more information. Oh, what's happening in school? Oh, this is how you perform? What does that mean? Really just engaging in dialogue and conversation with students has been a really big success, and having more than one adult be aware of what the assessment is has also been something that has helped.
Thank you.
Trustee Corcoran.
Hello there, Ms. Baptiste. I just had one question. When will we receive the high school data?
At our very next board meeting. At our very next board meeting.
I heard you say the very next board meeting you were going to present, but I thought it was
Yeah,
this.
March 21st. So at the March
For the high
21st board
school?
meeting. So for this, we're required for K-8 to report to the MDE for the benchmark assessments. But at our next board meeting, we will go through K-12, and 9-12 will be on there.
Yeah, I heard you say the next board meeting, but I didn't hear what was going to be at the next board meeting.
Yep.
So forgive me. The other question that I had was, with the iReady and, you know, the benchmarks, the teachers, they have specific criterias or lesson plans to build the students up to be ready for this?
Yes, so before they take the assessment, there are activities that they engage the students in. And then when they take the assessment, it generates a score, and it puts the students on a personalized learning platform that assigns lessons. So even after the assessment is over, they have interim assessments or interim activities to help bring them up to grade level or expose them to grade level content.
Thank you.
Anything else from the board? Okay, thank you, Ms. Baptiste.
Thank you, Ms. Baptiste.
Next report is from Mr. Phillips, Chief Finance and Operations Officer. Floor is yours.
I tried with you because mine ain't working either.
No, this
Yours
one,
is working.
This one sometimes.
Mine's not working.
We can hear you.
All right. Yeah, we did
Oh,
hear
you could?
Yes.
I'll be brief anyway. I just wanted to acknowledge that Jody Melvin, our finance director, and I have been in our positions about 2.5 months now, and we are really getting a feel for the land. We did complete the October and November financial statements, and if you have any questions of that, please shoot me an email if you need clarifications on anything. I also, Trustee Goodfriend asked for a sinking fund write-up, which I provided in your board packet. Again, we're looking about where we expected. We have about $280,000 left at this point, but it doesn't mean we've depleted it. It means that we have to just slow down right now. We're going to rely on the bond funds and also on the ESSER funds for much of what's going on, especially the HVAC equipment, which is all going to be going to the ESSER fund. But any questions on the sinking fund and that, please direct my attention. We also, next meeting, next Monday, will be providing you the December and January financial statements. We are catching up from the long break that was there with both of our positions. And then hopefully by I'm not going to say hopefully, by April 11th, we will be providing the February write-up, February financials. So that's all I wanted to report, unless you have any questions of me.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, Trustee Hoyt.
Thank you for your work and for getting us those financial statements. On those financial statements, we're looking at projecting about a $15 million surplus by the end of the year, which is aligned with what we had budgeted in June. As you're going through the finances, are you seeing anything that gives you any pause on that number or hesitation, anything that we should be aware of on the horizon?
Thus far, no. But it's still early. I mean, we still have data that's got to be entered for these months that I'm working on now, or we're working on now. So I don't want to speak too early to that. But as of right now, things are flowing fairly well. So again, you know, the big hit this year, of course, was the enrollment figure at the beginning of the year. But that's already been incorporated into these financials. So we're going to we'll see where we end up. But each month that progresses it tells a bigger tale. So we'll find out more. I'm saying by the February financials, we should have a pretty good indicator as to where we're going.
And then on the other end of that, we're seeing another significant surplus in the food service budget, which obviously has to be spent in the food service area. Are we starting to think about ways that we can spend down that money so it's not clawed back?
Yes, we are actually working with Plant Moran Cressa on expending those funds. We're looking primarily at generators, large generators that'll back up our food service areas. Also, we're looking at furniture, cafeteria furniture. We're looking at possible Lessinger cafeteria expenses. We have a list of items that we're looking to spend that down with. Again, we have to make sure that everything falls in the parameters. We have to run that past the MDE. So there's a lot that goes on with that. I know that they filed for 2 extensions already. We will probably have to file for a 3rd one. As long as we have a plan in place, then we should hopefully, in talking to Eric Weinclaw, our food service director, he feels that we should be able to put that through.
And I know we've been having some employment, some personnel challenges in some of the other contracted areas as well as our staff areas. Have we been running into any personnel challenges in the food service area?
In the food service area?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. I think they've been pretty hardy. So.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, hearing none. We've come to the public comment part of the meeting where the public has an opportunity to address the board if it so desires. Public participation is one-way communication in which members of the public are asked to address the full board with the understanding that board members will not be able to respond. Trustee Smith, would you please provide the public comment guidelines?
Yes. Because the Oak Park Board of Education values public meetings, not just meetings in public, we welcome public comment on school issues. Speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due process for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by public comments. The public comment portion of the meeting cannot be used to make personal attacks against a school board member or school district employee that disrupts the order of the meeting and are totally unrelated to the manner in which the member or employee performs his or her duties. Speakers should be aware that if statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, such comments may result in legal liability. Most comments can be concisely stated in 3 minutes, and the board respectfully asks the comments remain focused on the topic or issue and not be directed at specific personnel or board members.
Trustee Smith, do we have any cards?
None at this time.
Okay. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the board? Going once, going twice, gone. Okay, we will move to action item 7A, approval of minutes, March 3rd, 2022 special meeting. Trustee Hoyter, you asked that those be removed from the consent calendar, so.
Yes, so before we move for approval of that, I would ask that we amend the minutes that have been provided for us slightly. So for the March 3rd meeting, in the first sentence under Michigan Leadership Institute Superintendent Search, I would ask that we amend that to read, Mr. John Silveri, Michigan Leadership Institute consultant, met with the board to discuss the specifics of the superintendent search. And then I would also ask that we amend the last sentence to read, to that end, a search activities timeline was finalized, to indicate that it was further than discussed.
Thank you. Trustee Smith, did you have a comment?
Okay. Was that finalized or developed?
Or developed, either one.
We can say developed. It's a mostly working document, but we can say developed.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the March 3rd, 2022 board meeting minutes as amended?
Motion to approve those minutes as amended. for
I'll
March 3rd.
second it.
A motion's been made by Smith, seconded by by Lunkins. Is there any question on the motion? Hearing none, Ms. Greer, please call the roll.
Smith,
Yes.
Lunkins,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Goodfriend, and Evelyn,
Yes.
and Corcoran.
Okay, the motion
Yes.
passed. I'm sorry. I thought she caught everybody. My apologies. Look, they're ready to kill me already.
You in a hurry?
Thank you. The minutes, ayes have it, the minutes are passed. We'll move on to information items. Item 8A, Special Education Symposium debrief, and Trustee Hoyter and Dr. Hitchcock.
Okay. I'll start off by just giving a brief kind of overview. Vice President Hoyter and I attended the Special Education Symposium in Washington, D.C. this past week. In addition to us representing Oak Park, there were representatives from numerous school districts throughout the Tri-County area. That included about 40 superintendents, educators, specifically special education directors, and board members. Our day, which was primarily on Wednesday, was quite full, and the agenda was full of U.S. representatives, including Debbie Dingle, Andy Levin, Rashida Tlaib, Brenda Lawrence, Alyssa Slacken, and staffers and assistants from the offices of Debbie Stabenow, Haley Stevens, Gary Peters, Lisa McClain, and Gretchen Whitmer. Although our focus was on trying to get a commitment to for the full funding act for IDEA of 40% that was promised in 1975, while we were there, there was a push for the omnibus bill through to push the omnibus bill through the House, with little notice, which would threaten funding from various states in the area, including Michigan. The attention of the representatives that were coming to speak to us sort of shifted to that omnibus bill. And I am happy to report that although our trip did not yield additional funding or commitment for the full 40% that was promised, we were able to thwart efforts to take away monies that we have. And we also had an opportunity through K-12 Alliance that sponsored this trip to meet with the chair to try to get a hearing and share some of our stories, specifically around special education from teachers and parents. And we were able to share the resolutions that were passed by various boards throughout the Tri-County area. So a special thank you to the Oak Park Board of Education for your unanimous support of the IDEA Full Funding Act and the resolution. And then K-12 Alliance coordinated this event as mentioned, and they're planning to bring us back together, the team of about 40 people who attended, to discuss next steps. I would encourage any parent or staff member that is interested, or board member for that matter, that is interested in advocating for IDEA full funding to reach out to our U.S. Representative, Brenda Lawrence, and if you need more information or contact information, I can share that with you.
So I'm going to add a little bit. I want to first of all start by thanking the board for its support and us going. It really is so important. One of the things, as we were there, another part of the agenda of the day was we met with advocates from the American Superintendent Association, the School Counselors Association, the Association for Learning Disabilities, and there was one more, I can't remember exactly who he was.
U.S. Department of Education.
There were 4 advocates on school issues, and one of the things they emphasized is that this issue, the full funding of IDEA, is their #1 issue. That making sure that we are properly funding special education is so critically important, and it really has been delayed for so long. And it's not because the support isn't there. Every single representative that we met with said that they're supporting. I think almost all of them are co-sponsors of the bill. The issue is that it needs to get, there are a lot of important issues in Washington, and this one needs to get pushed up the agenda. And by having this meeting, I think we made a lot of progress towards that. While Dr. Hitchcock and I came Tuesday night for the meeting for the program that was all day Wednesday, there were other members of the group that came earlier on Tuesday, which turned out to be fortuitous because they were given a meeting with the chair of the House Education and Labor Committee, Bobby Scott, the congressman from Virginia. That was arranged by Congressman Andy Levin, who is a subcommittee chair on that committee. And so they were able to meet with the chair and emphasize to him the importance of having a hearing on this and moving the ball forward. As Dr. Hitchcock referenced, one of the things we got to see, which was unexpected, was kind of the drama play out over that day about the omnibus bill. So for those just a word about that for the community, an omnibus bill means a budget bill. It's a collection of funding, of all kinds of funding bills. And I think we've all seen in some of the paralysis in Washington, D.C. over the last 15 years, unfortunately, we don't pass budget bills every year. We pass budget bills ultimately every couple of years, and then they pass continuing resolutions, which basically means whatever the last budget was passed, that gets continued. So when Congress is able to pass a budget bill, It's very important because it not only sets the budget for that year, but it often ends up being the budget for a long time after that as they pass continuing resolutions that just extend and extend and extend. So getting this passed was really, really critical. The language for the bill, as Dr. Hitchcock mentioned, was not published until the middle of the night, Tuesday night. And so Wednesday morning, our first meeting of the day with Congresswoman Dingle, she first alerted us to the fact that included in this was a provision that would have taken back unspent COVID funds from Michigan. So in order to pay for continuing COVID needs, what they proposed was, if your state hasn't spent the money that we sent out to you a year ago, we're going to take that back and fund future COVID money. The problem with that is that, especially here in Michigan, where our legislature has not yet allocated that money, while that money may not have been allocated, there are already plans for how we're going to spend it. Here in this district, we've already approved plans, once that money comes through, for how we're going to spend it. And so if that money had been clawed back, that would have been a significant loss. For Michigan, it would have been a $550 million loss. And so Representative Dingle, when she was meeting with us, said even though this is a priority for the Democratic leadership, even though this was supposed to be a smooth vote that was supposed to be quick, she said, I don't know if I can vote for this. And in fact, as she was meeting with us, her phone buzzed, and it was the chair of the House Appropriations Committee. Later on, Representative Stevens, who was supposed to meet with us, sent a staffer because she said, I'm on the Hill negotiating this, I'm not going to be able to join. We started to see news stories saying this bill that was supposed to be kind of a, that was supposed to pass quickly, now there are angry members from Michigan that are holding it up. And as we were meeting throughout the day with representatives, we emphasized how critical it was that this money stay so that we can spend it on those things that are important. And then ultimately later in the day at about 3:30, we had our meeting with Representative Slotkin, and she shared with us that in fact that provision had been pulled out of the omnibus bill. So that was really a great demonstration of how important advocacy is and how that process works. I think another thing that struck me is we met with representatives from the entire area that was represented. So the group represented school board members, superintendents, and administrators from 5 counties, from Oakland, Wayne, Macomb, as well as St. Clair and Monroe. And so we had everything from Representative Tlaib, who represents Detroit, and is considered pretty far to one extreme in terms of the congressional ideology, to Representative McLean from Macomb County, who voted to overturn the election. So it comes about as far in the other direction as you can get. And one thing that was encouraging to me was to see how, no matter where they were on the ideological spectrum, all of them understood the importance of special ed funding and were supportive. So that's not the obstacle. The obstacle is getting the ball moved forward. Another part of it that was helpful is in talking to people from other districts, understanding, I think one of the things that Dr. Hitchcock and I talked about in the room as we were hearing other districts talking is how we have concerns about whether we have under-identified special ed students in our district, whether there are students who need those services but are not being identified, and what can we do to make sure that we are addressing that. Dr. Hitchcock really spoke very passionately to some of the representatives about the crisis that exists in public education, and how this, one of the things we kept hearing is, well, Congress ends up just dealing with crises, and the things that are important don't always get to the front of the line. But Dr. Hitchcock pointed out that we are in the middle of a crisis, that we are in the midst of a crisis. And Representative Slotkin actually said something that really stayed with me. Representative Slotkin is a former CIA officer who served in combat in Iraq, and she said that what she sees is that the stress that she's seeing from educators is something she has only seen from soldiers in combat. It's that level of stress. And so understanding that that's the situation we're in, and that in some places in Washington that's being recognized, I think that speaks to it. As Dr. Hitchcock mentioned, in addition to meeting with mental health advocates, and with that group of advocates from the Counselors Association, the Superintendents Association, the Learning Disabilities Association, and the Special Ed Directors Association, that was the one I was missing. We also had an opportunity to hear from 2 members of the leadership of the United States Department of Education. And one of the things that they emphasized is, well, you may not have IDEA funding, but your COVID money can be used to meet special ed needs. And what was important is that in the room, the special ed administrators were able to, from the ISDs, were able to bring up the point that while that is the case, part of IDEA is something called maintenance of effort, which means once a certain amount of money is spent in the district on special education, you have to show that you're continuing to spend that amount in the future. So if we use one-time money to address special ed needs, we then become required to use that going forward without the funding coming in. And so it was important, I think, for the administration to hear that feedback, that some of the solutions they're proposing are not consistent with the compliance that they enforce. And so it was a great example of why these discussions are important. One last thing I just want to emphasize, Congressman Levin and Congresswoman Tlaib both spoke about this, about the importance that what we'll often be told is that the money isn't there. And that's clearly not the case. When you look at the money that's being spent, when something is a priority, and this is clearly a priority, the money is there to be spent. What has to happen, as Congressman Levin and Congresswoman Tlaib pointed out, is that advocacy is important. It has to, by having these types of events, by telling the stories, by bringing the binders, every single representative that we met with emphasized how important it was that we were able to present them with a binder with 56 resolutions from all across Southeast Michigan saying this is a priority for us. That was a powerful thing. So for the community, when you call your congressman's office, when you call your senator's office, when you make those calls, when you go to those coffee hours, that moves these items up the agenda. And that's why this is really important. So we need, one of the things that was said as well is kind of the way we as education, the way schools sometimes, the way we work is we're going to be opening our doors and educating these kids no matter what. And so then that covers up for the crisis that actually exists. So we need to, because we're not going to stop doing that, but what we need to do as well is tell those stories, make those phone calls, show up to those opportunities, and make sure that they're hearing that message, that this is important, that this is something people care about, that this is something people are going to vote based on. And with that, hopefully we can move that ball forward to move closer to full funding of IDEA.
Thank you, Trustee Hoyda. Dr. Hitchcock?
Just to piggyback on all of the points that Vice President Hoyda made, I agree with. One of the things that I think is, or two things that I think are important to reiterate is that the full funding IDEA Act is a bipartisan bill. Right now, we can't get Congress to agree on what to order on a pizza, let alone to push through a bipartisan bill. And so I want to say how significant that is for them all to agree and see the value of special education. In addition to that, though, for parents or community members that may be thinking, well, I don't have a child that has special needs, getting the appropriate funding for the federal government just allows less of a hit or impact to general education funding. So getting the funding that was promised to us provides support to general education students as well as special education students. So it's not just that's this family's issue or their problem, it's all of our issue and it's all of our problem. So I would reiterate and underscore what Vice President Hoyta said about reaching out, because it does make a difference.
Thank you.
And just to sharpen that point, thank you, Dr. Hitchcock, and I agree. Again, to emphasize, we are required by law to provide the services. So we do provide the services. When the funding is not being provided from the federal government, that money gets taken out of the general ed budget. And what that means for students in our district is that at least $500 per student that should be going to providing for the needs of our general ed students is instead going to special education, which should be funded by that commitment that Congress made. So that underfunding is costing our general ed students at least $500 per student as well.
Thank you, Trustee Hoyta. Any comments from the board? Questions? Want to thank you both for that robust report. And for attending and bringing back great information for the board. That's awesome. And hopefully our legislature will listen to what's being said, and hopefully we'll get that funded at least at a greater percentage than it's funded right now. So thank you. We're moving on now to information item 8B, Bid Pack 2, Oak Park High School D-Wing, Structural Steel, Mechanical, Electrical, and General Trades. And we have Kevin Donnelly from Plant Moran Cressa and Krista Amalio from Rockford Construction.
Hello again.
And Mr. Burnett.
And Steve Burnett as well. Well, what you have in front of you, remember we purchased the equipment for the D-Wing at the high school a few meetings ago, and this is the labor to put the equipment in. Any questions? Where the three of us will answer those questions.
Trustee Hoyta.
So I noticed on several items we only received one bid. Is that something we should be concerned about, both in terms of what that means in terms of cost, but also in terms of what we can look at going forward in terms of expectations for the ongoing work?
Well, I believe that was only one category where we received only, we received two bids, but one bid was not read because they didn't include a bid bond. So that was in the electrical. And the only reason why we entertained just going with Sawyer Services is because they're doing our 3 elementaries as well. And we were struggling to get bidders because this is such a small project in the scheme of the world. This was kind of like just a little token, but Krista really shook the trees to get some of the bidders to come out and at least give us 2 in every category. And we would have had 2 had Decima included a bid bond. So we didn't even open that one. But the other categories, as you can see, we had a minimum of 2, and in the mechanical we had 3 actually. So we feel fortunate. We had to push the bid out farther because we only had 1 in every category. So it was Krista's efforts to go out and call out some special people to say, hey, can you bid on this project, just so we have at least 2 in the category. Or
Right.
we were afraid we were gonna have all this equipment and nobody to put it in.
Seems we had a similar issue with steel, with Nelson, their bid was incomplete.
Yeah, their bid was incomplete as well. You're right, that was the second category. Their bid was incomplete. So if a bid's incomplete or they don't complete it, we're not gonna entertain it because it just leads to disaster. And so Krista knows these companies really well, and she can speak on that. I'll turn it over to her just for a second.
Yeah, if there's any questions that you have, the Nelson bid was actually opened, and then when we interviewed, we found it was incomplete. So that's why that one went to the second bidder for Great Lakes Welding.
All right. Thank you so much for your work, Krista.
Oh, no problem.
The other one I had a question about was the general trades, where there was a pretty significant discrepancy between the 2 bids.
Yes.
What would explain that?
It was an allowance value within the bids. So, but we do feel that the bidder that's on the award list is a complete bid with the exception of allowance, but we didn't feel it was fiscally responsible to spend another $120,000 for an allowance.
For an, help me understand that, for an allowance for?
For ceilings.
Oh,
The
okay.
ceilings within the scope itself were complete. You have 7,000 square foot of ceilings that'll be replaced in the high school Unit D wing. So again, the bid was complete with the low bid price that was received on bid day.
So the other one was quoting to completely replace those ceilings?
You do have 7,000 square feet of replaced ceilings with that bid price for the low bidder.
Okay. And I think that low bidder is also the one, if my memory.
I just want to jump in there really quick and say, the low bidder did include quite a bit of ceiling replacement, and we felt that the K&M construction would, you know, it was an additional $125,000 that we didn't necessarily need to spend, and we have a 15% contingency that we believe will cover anything if there is some miss. So we felt we were being very responsible, even though it's significant. I felt like K&M kind of was padding it, because, you know, if there's 125 there, well, they'll find a way to spend 125. So we're trying to be really frugal about how we're spending, because, you know, things are really costly now. So we're uncovering everything we can to make sure we're spending the money as wisely as possible.
All right, thank you. I was just going to comment, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, that low bidder are the same ones that did the installation of the window units. I just found that ironic.
Are we talking about ML Shaner?
Yeah.
ML Shaner, they did the teaching and learning offices at the administration building. They were the ones that did that. They worked on the media center at the Oak Park High School. So we have a history with ML Shaner, and I personally like ML Shaner, and I think Krista likes ML Shaner as well. So we felt very comfortable they were covering the bid and not shorting it at all.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, Krista, thank you for your tree shaking abilities, and we will go on. So much appreciated. We're at item 8C, Superintendent Search Timeline Update. I'll just have a few things to note. Want to thank the students, parents, staff, and other community stakeholders who participated in the Superintendent Search stakeholder meetings last Friday, March 11th, and to those who couldn't attend but responded to the survey. Your responses were pivotal in the process for us to post the official superintendent position announcement, which officially posted today. The position announcement will be up through April 18th. The board will receive a presentation of applicants and decide whom to interview at a special meeting at 6 p.m. April 27th, 2022. The first round of interviews will commence between May 9th through the 11th, 2022. Any questions on the superintendent search timeline? The board also received an updated timeline document. I sent it today, so you should have that with meeting times and dates and things of that nature. Anything on that? Nothing? Okay. Item 9, board and administration communications. Any communications from the administration? Dr. Hitchcock?
Yes, I spoke to this at our last board meeting, but I don't think it could be said enough that as a leader, I have a responsibility to call for peace. And again, just want to stress that the importance of peace in the conflict that exists between Russia and Ukraine.
Thank you. Ms. Baptiste?
I just had one communication, which will also be sent through Dr. Hitchcock's office, which is that it's National Reading Month, and we will have events happening the week of March 21st to March 25th, and I've confirmed, we had school intervisitations where one school visits another school. That's happening all week. So this week we want next week for more people to come into the building. So March 21st to March 25th, Pepper Elementary, shout out to Mr. Haley. We have confirmed March 21st, Monday, March 21st, his kindergarten. I'm going to confirm with him officially, but I believe his kindergarten classes will be made available from 9 to 10 a.m. More information coming and more confirmation coming for other grade levels. So that information will be shared with you all in different time frames of when you can come in and read to our students.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any communications from members of the board? Trustee Hoyter.
I just want to clarify, and I think this might have to do with how we change this. So on the Michigan Leadership website, it does say that the posting is through the 18th, which is what you said, President Elvin, but in the actual document, it says April 20th. So if we can make sure that gets clarified, I appreciate it.
April 20th, okay. I'll double check that myself, thank you. Anything else from members of the board? I have one item. Yesterday I was on 9:10 a.m. Superstation in the conference room with Mark Lee and had an opportunity to talk about some of the things that were going on in the district, and one of them I mentioned was the Lessinger School. So hopefully, and their superintendent search, but hopefully we get some of our parents. I'm sorry? It said 9:10 a.m. Yeah, so I'm. No, 9:10 a.m. the station, not 9:10 in the morning. And so hopefully, some of our parents were listening, and hope to, some of the people who live here in Oak Park were listening, and will be eager to jump on the opportunity to register their children at Lessinger, and also if there were any potential candidates for our superintendent search that they might have taken notice of that. So that was my one item. Are there any addenda from members of the administration? Any from the board?
I'll just add
Trustee
to that that I've heard from residents who noticed the sign change at Lessinger, who are excited about the Early Childhood Center opening up. So there's buzz in the community, and that's exciting.
Thank you. As we get ready to close, Trustee Smith, would you provide the next meeting date?
Yes. The next meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, March 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Oak Park High School auditorium.
Thank you. If nothing else, without objection, we will pass the motion to adjourn the meeting by unanimous consent. Is there an objection? Seeing none, we are adjourned at 9:24 p.m.